Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new middle grade book spotlight. So for this week, we are taking some inspiration from a month-long celebration that's kicked off May 1st, yesterday. We are taking a look at some Asian American Pacific Islander authors because it's Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So all the books we're going to look at today have an author that falls into that category, features some amazing Asian American Pacific Islander characters, and because of this, there's literally a little something for everyone. There's different themes, there's different genres, there's different storylines, there's tons of different characters. So we have 6 amazing stories we're going to explore. A little bit something for everyone, a little bit something different. So let's get started. Our first one is Dragon Pearl. So Min is a fox spirit. This is a supernatural creature who can change their appearance and persuade others to do things, but she and her family keep it a secret because in their society where they live, a fox spirit is like on one of the lowest rungs. They don't get any respect. Now, Min finds out that her older brother, Jun, has deserted his Space Force post, which was like a position of honor, but she doesn't believe that's what happened. That's the story they are told by the government, that he's deserted. But Min thinks there's something else that's gone on, that it wasn't her brother's choice, and she's determined that she's going to figure out what's happened to her brother, and she's going to find him. Now, as she starts to travel through the universe, she starts to discover and find these clues that start pointing her in the direction that there is way more to the story than what the government told them, and all signs start to point to the discovery of this ancient relic called the Dragon Pearl. Now, this book is filled with twists and turns. There's Korean mythology, there's folklore, there's some science fiction in it, and there's some amazing characters. What I like about this is there's a beginning, middle, end. There's no series, so you will know what happens, and you will then finish this book, and you will find yourself wanting to read more Korean mythology and folklore because it's amazing. This is Dragon Pearl. Our next one is an ebook. Yes, we're mixing up. It's an ebook. You can find it on Libby. This is Red, White, and Whole. Now, Rhea is Indian American middle schooler growing up in the 1980s in the United States, and she finds herself trying to fit in these 2 completely different worlds. So there's the world that she is Monday through Friday going to school with her cut-up jeans, listening to music, watching MTV, hanging out with her white friends, then crushing on a boy at school, and then there's who she is on the weekends, when she's with her family the whole time. Her Indian parents, her best friend who's Indian, completely different set of expectations for her, different ways she's supposed to behave, and Rita is frustrated when she's spending this time as an Indian. She doesn't like how her parents treat her. She wants to be more white, more American. But then everything changes one night when her mother is really sick. They send her to the hospital, she gets admitted, and that's when they find out that she has what's called leukemia. And people can die from leukemia. And Rhea has no idea how to deal with this news. She doesn't know how to comprehend what is happening with her mom and her family, especially as her mother continues to get worse no matter what the doctors try to help her with. And she slowly is getting worse over time. Like, she sees her mom completely change in front of her eyes. But Rhea then also finds herself gaining support and strength from both these groups in her life, her white friends and her Indian family. And she starts to realize that maybe she can be both Indian and American. This amazing novel in verse is one that is filled with family, friendship, understanding, coming of age. It will have you crying at parts, and I will tell you this one is a perfect one, not just for middle grade readers. If you're a YA reader, if you're an adult reader, you will love this one and appreciate this one just as much. This is Red, White, and Whole. A Place to Belong. Now, this one I will tell you has a pretty awesome author's note. Read it, because it definitely does shed more light on this story. So it's the end of World War II, and 12-year-old Hanako has been through enough for a lifetime. She remembers her life before Pearl Harbor, living in the United States, and then she remembers her life for the past 4 years, living in a internment camp in the middle of nowhere, because she and her family are Japanese Americans, and the government thought they couldn't be trusted. It was in this camp that her parents were forced to say they were not really Americans, and they ended up like denouncing their citizenship to the United States, and because they weren't American, they were no longer going to be allowed to live in the United States. So they leave this camp, and then they find themselves on this ship with 11,000 other Japanese Americans who are then being sent back to Japan to live. Now, when Hanako gets there, they go to live with her grandparents, her father's parents, but that's a whole other different circumstance because they live outside of Hiroshima, where the atomic bomb was just dropped, and everyone there is dealing with the fallout from that horrific event. Now, Hanako she gets to this new place where she's living, and she feels like she has no idea where she is or who she is because, while they were living in the United States, she was told she wasn't American enough to live there, but they get to Japan and she's told she's not Japanese enough to live there because she's never lived there before and she doesn't really understand the culture or the language, and she has no idea who she is, where she belongs. You will find yourself on this journey with Hanako as she tries to figure out her identity. What makes her her, and where her place is, and it's not only in the world, but also her place with her family in this new community she's been basically dumped on. This is heart-wrenching, it's eye-opening, and it's one that will have you full of emotions while reading this incredible story. As you're seeing this and you're feeling and you're the thought process of Hanako, and you won't, so good, a place to belong. The truth about Twinkie Pie. Gigi, which is short for Galileo Galilei, is getting ready for 7th grade, and she has to move in with her older sister Dee, which is short for Delta Dawn, after their mother passes away. And so Gigi finds herself orphaned, and Dee Dee wasn't planning on raising her sister, but now she is. Dee Dee, though, has won $1 million on a cooking show, and she wants what's best for her younger sister Gigi. So they leave their home and they move to New York City, and so Gigi can go to the best private school Dee Dee can find. It's at school that Gigi knew it would be difficult to fit in, but she ends up becoming friends with the coolest boy in school, which is something she did totally not expect. But because of that, because of this new, this coolest boy in school, becomes friends with the new girl, that puts a target on her back, especially for mean girl, Mace. But things get even more confusing with Mace, because then Mace, the mean girl, and Dee Dee, Gigi's older sister, Mace and Dee Dee seem to kind of hit it off. They randomly meet one day after school, and Gigi can't help but notice that Mace and Dee Dee have more in common than what Gigi has with her own sister. And then they kind of start to uncover things, and there's this whole thing that maybe her mother really may not be dead, but they don't really know what to make of that news or that secret either. This is filled with twists, turns, and there's sisterly love and drama, and if you're looking for a feel-good ending with some food mixed in throughout, this is the one for you. This is the truth about Twinkie Pie. When You Trap a Tiger, another ebook! So this magical realism story follows Lily and as she and her family, they move in with her ill grandmother, who she calls Halanoi, okay? So that's the Korean word that she uses. Now, Lily loves her Halanoi, and she's full of magic and these stories, but Lily is shocked to find out one evening, she goes in the basement of the house, and she gets down there, and she finds this sick tiger, who her grandmother's been keeping in the basement. Which right there, kind of starts to, some questions start to be, asked. Now, Lily and this tiger strike a deal. Okay, this tiger is full of magic. It can talk. They strike a deal. This tiger says, okay, here's what we'll do. I will make your Halanoi better, but you have to do something for me in return. When her Halanoi was a younger girl, she stole a bunch of stories from these tigers. He wants them back, but Lily has no idea where they are, so Lily has to go and find them. This is filled with Korean folklore that Lily is trying to decipher. She soon can't figure out what is fact and what is fiction, and there is way more going on than Lily ever knew or could comprehend, and it may end up changing everything and everyone Lily knows, including herself and especially her family. If you like a story filled with family, there's magic, there's a tiger, there's an intricate plot mixed in. I will tell you, it can get a little confusing at points, but it will also keep you turning the page. This award winner is one that you will have to read. This is When You Trap a Tiger. And our last one is American as Paneer Pie. So Lika is the only Indian American kid at her school and in her suburban neighborhood outside Detroit. When she's home, she loves everything about her family and culture, but when she's at school, she does everything she can to fit in with all the others. From letting them mispronounce her name, to not eating the Indian foods that her mom packs her and that she loves to eat. But when a new Indian American family moves into the neighborhood with a daughter Lika's age, she thinks the new girl will do what she does. She'll do exactly the same thing, but that is not the case. Avantika speaks out about her culture, and she's not shy to be herself, and she leaves both Lika confused and also in awe that she has this is her what she does. As they soon become friends, Lika is forced to start looking at herself and trying to figure out who she wants to be. Does she want to be someone who is ashamed of her culture or not ashamed of her culture, and how does she want to display that? This realistic book will open your eyes to how we treat others as well as we treat ourselves. This is American as Paneer Pie. So these are 6 of the books we have here in the library that are written by Asian American, Pacific Islander authors, featuring Asian American, Pacific Islander characters, so there's a little bit of something for everyone here. So I encourage you to come out, check out one of these, or we can help you find whatever perfect book you're looking for to maybe kick off some of your summer reading, because we're getting to that point. More details will be coming about summer reading here in a few weeks. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you tune back next week when we have a whole new middle grade book spotlight.